Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Wingmen Podcast. This week's guest is Wade Skeen from Skeen Outfitters and Gundogs. Wade's been on before. We had a really good conversation, but we felt like we needed to chat more frequently, and so I think you're going to end up seeing Wade as more of a regular guest. We have a really good chemistry, and Wade is located down in Kansas, and his duck season's been off on a hot streak already, and he and I get into talking about the hunting and about how good it's been and about how in the early stages of an outfitter's season when you can get some really awesome hunts under your belt, they're a little more chill, they're a little more relaxed, and he's really been enjoying those. We also talk about some dog training and get into the hot topic of e-collars and how using them can be good and how it can be bad and the stigma around all of them. But ultimately we come down to the fact that they're a tool, and we talk about their proper uses and his opinions, which I value and trust. We also, on the beginning of the podcast, we answered some questions. This is the second podcast where we've answered your questions that you've left us on social media or on YouTube, and about hunting, about the podcast guest in question. We've just done our best to answer some of those questions on here, and Wade and I go back and forth, and it sets up a really great conversation. We talk about bad clients, how you handle those. We talk about just a lot of different things, and it's a killer podcast, and I hope you enjoy it. This episode of the Wingmen Podcast is brought to you by Cryptek. Guys, being concealed and staying in the field as long as you want to be in the field are two very important tenets of waterfowl hunting. And I have to be honest with you, I love the fact that I can align with a company like Cryptek and be partnered with them because we share the same ideals, we have the same passions, and it shows. It shows in the products that they develop, in the camouflage patterns that they have, and I am stoked to be partnered with them. Check out the full lineup of everything they have, and hey, shoot me a message here at Wingmen Headquarters, and I can give you a rundown of exactly what pieces I like the best from Cryptek. This episode's brought to you by Federal Premium Ammunition. You know, I've been shooting Federal for a lot of years, guys, and I can't say enough good things about them. Everything from the TSS Black Cloud loads to the Blue Box Steel, and now the heavy bismuth loads that they have, and of course the traditional tried and true Black Cloud FS steel. They got a load for everything. Last year I had a chance to put some of the new stuff through the paces, and I cannot speak highly enough about it. It swats birds out of the sky, gives me awesome patterns, and with the new heavy bismuth, I can use some of my old shotguns in the field as well and not have to sacrifice performance. So guys, when you reach for shells this year, reach for Federal Premium. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Wingmen Podcast, and I've got Wade Skeen from Skeen Outfitters and Gundogs on with me again. Doesn't seem like it's been that long, but I appreciate you coming back on, dude.
Heck yeah, man. I'm excited to. We had such a good time last time, and I think we were an hour and a half in, and we both had to get running, and we still had a million things we were chatting about, so it made sense just to hop back on here.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. And we've got the new format we've been doing with the question and answer. And so I think we'll dive in, answer some of those questions, and then we'll go from there and talk. You had a good hunt this morning, it looked like. We'll get into what the hunting's doing for you and where you're at.
Yep. Sounds good, buddy.
Yeah, I'll give some shout outs here and there to the questions, but I think the one I'm going to start with is from Luke Washington. And Luke asks, what is your favorite hunting memory from when you were younger?
There's two of them, and it's probably not. Okay, let's make it three. All right, so number one, my first deer I ever killed, I was 8 years old or 9 years old. My dad, my brother, myself were sitting up against a big white oak tree in the same piece of ground that we leased for 30-something years that I grew up hunting on, and had a spike buck come walking over the hill out there and shot it with my dad and my brother both sitting there with me. And that's probably number one, just because of who I had sitting there with me. I'll never forget that. And that started a tradition of spending time in the outdoors with my dad and my brother every available minute from then on out for the rest of my life until I joined the Air Force. So that's probably number one. Number two, my dad, my brother, and I, my first turkey I killed, I was 14, I think, and had a turkey fly down off the roost out there and shot it at like 50 yards with a 20 gauge. And so that was a really cool one because I had them there with me as well. And then my first duck that I ever got, I was in Tallahatchie County, Mississippi, with my uncle, and we were just hunting a little Tupelo break or something like that, flooded slough type deal, and got a hen wood duck and got a couple more ducks that morning, but my first one, and that's kind of what started the drive to waterfowl as I got older and everything. So my dad didn't really waterfowl much. He was mostly a deer hunter, so that was kind of where the bug started for the waterfowl. So those are the top three, quick and dirty.
Oh, wow. Those are great, man. I appreciate that. That's cool. I'll just do one because I'm with you. There's so many, the word favorite's tough because it's like makes you
Right.
whittle it down, but there's so many of them that I have, just ingrained in me. But I'm gonna go with one, and it's gonna be waterfowl specific, and it was my first duck. I can still close my eyes and picture that. It was my dad. I was with my dad and a friend of his, and we were hunting a beaver pond on the east end of the UP in Michigan, where I grew up. And we had a big flight of mallards that came in, and there was, I don't know, it seemed like the sky was black with ducks, but I was 12 years old, and that
Maybe
was a
little
big,
bit of exaggeration in those memories a little bit. That's okay.
but the thing that I remember the most was, I remember shooting, I think I shot 3 ducks that evening, shot a hen mallard and 2 drake mallards with my little 20 gauge. And I remember I had hip boots on, and hip boots were not enough to get out to where the ducks were. So I was standing up to my belly button in, late October in the North Country, just standing in the water, wet, who cares? But I remember right as shooting light kind of ended, the big pulse of ducks came in, and there was just ducks everywhere, and the noise that those wings made, cupped up, just coming over your head. I'll never forget that. My dad was standing right there by my side. It was awesome. So that's mine. One of mine, like you said, there's lots. It's hard to narrow it down, but there's tons and tons. But I appreciate that question. So there's another question on here that I thought was really, really good. And it's from Jim. That's all he says. It's Jim. It says, is there a surefire way, no pun intended, to prevent a pup from being gun shy? He said, I had a retriever years ago that was terrified of the sight and sound of guns, but he was great otherwise. He's like, I never want to go through that again. What do you think? What do you think?
That and how do I get my dog to retrieve geese? That's probably the two most common questions I get. And really and truly with the gunfire deal, it's all a process, and patience is the biggest part of that process. You hear so many guys, bang pots and pans while they're eating and no, don't. Just wait. Let the dog get to 6, 7, 8, 10 months old. Get out there, retrieve with the dog, throw it fun bumpers, let it have fun. Get somebody out there at 200 yards with a 20 gauge or even a 22. Shoot it while the dog's retrieving those fun bumpers. If you get a reaction from it, either move down a caliber, add some distance. Do it a couple more times until you're not getting any reaction. That dog's associating that with that activity that it enjoys with retrieving. Okay, cool. That went well. Let's move in 25 yards. Let's move in 25 yards and just take your time. And if at any point you get a bad reaction, you see a flinch or a cower or something like that, stop, move back out, go back to a smaller caliber, whatever it takes. But so many guys, man, and it happens all the time. I see guys say, "Well, I'm going to take my pup out to the play range with me and have it heel around." Don't do that. I mean, some dogs, especially if they're high drive, they're fine. It's never an
Yeah.
issue. But a
Yeah.
dog that's a little more calm demeanor and stuff like that, man, you're talking about a 10-year investment. Don't take the chance of screwing that up just because you get in a rush. Take your time. Don't get in a hurry with it. Wait till the dog's old enough and bold enough, and then start the process of it slowly. And if you follow that, I would say 90% of your gun shy dogs will never have an issue. Because I get gun shy dogs that people bring me and tell me, well, he's gun shy, and that's the process I follow to get the dog over being gun shy. And if you do see issues with the dog out there at 150, 200 yards, up the ante, use a real bird. If you have to, get a live pigeon, get that dog's focus and attention and satisfaction on the process of retrieving whatever it's doing, pursuing game, whatever, tennis ball, if that's what it takes, and associate that with that gunfire at a distance. Slowly, incrementally work your way in until you can shoot over the dog without any sort of negative body language from the dog. And if you follow that and take your time and be patient with it, you can almost guarantee you're not going to have a gun shy dog.
I think, yeah, that's phenomenal advice. I think back to my first dog, and she was high drive, man. You could have set off a hydrogen bomb next to her and she wouldn't have cared.
It still would have been ready to go.
Yeah, but I did all the stuff you're talking about. I banged pots and pans while she was eating. I made noise. We went to the target. We went out and had her with me at the skeet range. I did all of the wrong things that, in your mind, you think, well, I need to get this dog accustomed to noise, accustomed to loud stuff.
Yep.
And like you said, for some dogs, not a problem. But
No
I can
fact.
totally see the dog, my old dog now, Mackinaw. I think if I wouldn't have been really careful about that in the beginning, he could have turned out to be gun shy. He's got high drive, but he's very cautious about everything he does. He's just a cautious dog. Saved me a fortune in vet bills because he just doesn't.
That's not a bad thing.
Not a bad thing at all. Once he gets going, yeah, I mean, you can't stop him. A lot of people have seen the video of him climbing the cliff to get the goose. That's got a lot of drive, but he doesn't charge into stuff like my young dog does. And because of that, he doesn't put himself in bad situations very often.
Yep.
But yeah, man, I think that advice is spot on. I think so many of us, and I say us because I'm guilty of this too, get in a hurry to get that dog hunting, to get that dog where we want it in the field. And it's just a mistake. Take your time and go slow with the process. And I get it. Guys get a dog and it's maybe the only duck dog they have. It's the only retriever they have. So they want it hunting as soon as possible. I get that. But 9 times out of 10, you're going to see dogs that aren't steady, and all dogs break. I'm going to go on a limb and just say that, it's a rare dog that never breaks. But I'm not talking about a dog that every now and then just you go to shoot and he's gone. I'm talking about a dog that can't sit still. When you're out hunting, he's running around and you can't control him, or he's barking and whining. That comes through time and confidence, I think. And some dogs have it right out of the gate, but I think you're right. I think all of us are just in a rush.
Yeah, I think, over the years, going from having one dog to 2 dogs to 7 or 8 or 9, whatever I'm up to now, personal dogs, and then training dogs for other people. The big thing that I've noticed is if you put too much pressure on a dog when it's young to perform, even if it's doing it up to your standard during training, it creates behavioral issues with that dog down the road because it's not emotionally mature enough to process what's going on at 6, 7, 8 months old when you're trying to get it out there hunting. And what happens is that manifests into whining or breaking or,
Right.
making noise or any of those issues we're looking at avoiding. That's where those come from a lot of times 2 years down the road. Now, whining is kind of a beast of its own, because I think a lot of that's genetic, but you're definitely not helping that scenario by getting that dog that excited that young, because it just can't process it yet.
It's this. I've always said this. It's the same with kids. I try to get my kids are all little, and I try to get them involved in as much stuff as I can, but I don't push it. It's like, you want to play soccer? Yeah, man. It's like, you want to play soccer? That's fine. Go play. We can play soccer, and I'm not going to holler at you on the sidelines. We might talk about some things you can do after the game, but I'm not going to push hard. I've seen it. I've seen, as a coach and a teacher, I've seen too many kids that were pushed super hard to do things at a young age that when they get a little older, they don't want anything to do with it, and I hate it. And I don't want that for my kids, and I don't want that for my dog. I did not hunt. I mean, we went on some fun stuff, but I did not have any like driven, hard going expectations of him until last year. And even the first few hunts, it was kind of like, no, you got to sit there and be quiet. And he breaks a little. It's funny because by the end of the season, he was not breaking at all when other people were shooting. But as soon as I stood up to shoot, it was anybody's guess.
You weren't paying attention.
Exactly. We're still working on it. We're getting there, but it's just interesting. Dude, that's a solid question and awesome answer. I appreciate that.
I think a little follow-up on that too is if you're a person that's in that scenario where you're wondering about one of those fundamental things like breaking or gun shyness or something like that, man, it's a plug, but it is what it is. Go get you a solid program so it takes you through it step by step. Of course, you and I both use Cornerstone Gundog Academy and have had a lot of success with that. And if you're really serious about having a long-term quality dog, go get you a quality training program and go through it step by step on the timeline they suggest and follow it, and that'll save you so much heartburn in the long run by avoiding leaving those gaps or causing those issues down the road.
Yeah, I 100% agree. 100% agree. What other Cornerstone's worked very, very well for me. I took my time with that with Hondo, and we repeated quite a few things. Life is busy, and not everybody has the time to follow that thing day by day or those week to week to week. So we repeated weeks quite often. If I didn't think he was ready to go to the next one, we'd repeat a week. And there's other stuff he breezed through. It was like, yeah, he's nailed that like within the first session. Yep. It's just interesting, but having that program to fall back on, I think is vital. I think it's important.
Yeah. And there's other good programs out there too. So, if that's not your cup of tea, that's fine. But it's just one that I've been through and had tons of experience with and have just oodles of confidence in. I know that program will build you a solid long-term gun dog and keep you from having gaps in there that turn into bigger problems down the road. So
Yep. No, I 100% agree. So I think we do one more question and then we get to chatting. But so this one's a little more personal because you're an outfitter and you do this for a living. This question comes in and it's, how do you deal with difficult clients?
So there's two approaches to this. All right. There's preventative and then there's reactive. Preventative is be a trusted outfitter who keeps their books pretty full so that you can have a lot of return clients and you can really, fill your calendar with people that you enjoy to hunt with. Okay. Mm-hmm. That's the first step. You do that. And I mean, I would say 90% of the people that I take hunting now, I would do it if it didn't make me a penny, because I love spending time with those guys. I've got two dads and two sons coming in from Illinois this afternoon, and I would pay these dudes to hunt with them. That's how much fun we have together. So like if I didn't have expenses and paying landowners and gas and all this other stuff, it wouldn't cost them a dime because I love spending time with these guys.
Yeah.
So
You've
that's
built relationships.
oh yeah, beyond. As a matter of fact, we're looking for lease property for them that we can work together on and stuff like that over here because I love having them around. So that's the first side of it. Do it in a way to where you can pick and choose who you hunt with because you're not chasing a dollar. Okay. So second is reactive. Be upfront, honest with people, communicate from the beginning. And most of the time, that's going to alleviate most of your issues with trouble clients, so to speak, anyway. Okay. Do you get some that are hard to deal with sometimes? Yes, you do. But if you communicated well and if you put in every bit of effort you possibly can to make the hunt or the experience as successful as you can, even when it doesn't go well, you can go to sleep in good conscience at night because you did everything you could. And I mean, I've got, if you go look at my social media or my Google reviews or something like that, I've got one bad review that exists out there out of however many we have. And part of that was my fault, and I took ownership of that. And when I do have a problem, because we make mistakes, we're tired, we're busy, we zig when we should have zagged. We make mistakes just like anybody else. But I'm gonna bend over backwards to make that situation right if we do make a mistake. And I feel like those instances have become way fewer as we've honed I've gotten better at it. I've gotten better at helping the guides manage situations and things like that. And then they're just good dudes too that want to be successful and want to get people their money's worth out of this experience. But when you have the troublesome, clients like that, man, you just be upfront and honest with them. If you screw up, own it. If they're still just the problem, and sometimes it goes that way, then you get through your 3 days the best you can. You tell them be safe on the way home. And if they call you next year and ask for a spot, you tell them no, sir, we're booked up, and you just don't do it anymore. And if you got good retention rates with your guests, then you can do that because the dollar bill is not the end all be all for you.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. That's, I have never been in your shoes as a waterfowl outfitter or any kind of a hunting guide for that matter. But as a fly fishing guide, that's been doing it for, part-time. I used to do it a lot more than I do now. I can tell you that. And now it's just something I do because I enjoy it.
Right.
But back when I first getting started in it, I guided a lot, and it's mostly day stuff, and you do get a lot of repeat guys, like you said, and those guys are great. But I always tried to be very upfront about my expectations and what the expectations for the day were.
Yep.
And you still get a handful of jerks here and there, but it's rare. It is really rare in my experience. Most people, especially sportsmen, most people are pretty solid. They're pretty good folks. And
Look, they're coming to duck hunt. You already have something in common with them.
exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Build off of that. And very rarely do we run into people that we just can't get along with.
Yep. I had one guy, and it was years and years and years ago, and he was just nothing that I was going to do was going to make him happy.
Yep.
And nothing I was going to do was going to help him be successful catching fish. And we ended the day short. It was kind of like, sorry. It was an hour and a half ride back to his hotel where I picked him up, and it was a quiet ride, man. But
that's one of those rides you hope he just takes a nap.
Yeah, he didn't. He was wired pretty. This dude was wired pretty hot, and that was part of the problem. He was wound pretty tight. But anyway, that's that. You get them, but I'm with you. I think that's probably just good advice for life in general when dealing with folks, dealing with people.
Do the best you can. If you still can't get along with them, then it's on them.
Yeah,
you can go to sleep at night.
Yep. No, I agree 100%. So you sent me a picture before we jumped on. Looked like a 2 or 3 man limit this morning. Quick one.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we were one shy of a 3-man mallard limit. Had some guys from Mississippi come up, 3 of them that we took out yesterday evening and then this morning. So, man, to be November 2nd.
Yep.
We got ducks.
Awesome.
Yeah, so we're probably 2 weeks ahead of schedule right now on the number of birds we saw this morning versus where I normally feel like we're going to be, which I ain't mad about it. We got
No kidding.
got a good cold front last week. Actually got kind of 2 of them back to back. I think we were down to like 19 degrees day before yesterday in the morning, or maybe yesterday morning. And man, we got birds to push down. We got good. I mean, not real numbers of geese, but geese, good numbers compared to what we normally have right now. Normally, I don't ever kill a goose before mid-November, and we've already killed a couple of decent goose hunts. Got 5 or 6 inches of rain in a lot of the areas around here, which we desperately needed. Still do in a lot of our areas. But yeah, man, we got ducks and it's glorious.
That's awesome.
Yeah, this morning was beautiful, man. It was 31 degrees, sunshine, 12, 15 mile per hour wind. And we only had 3 hunters, which is good. We only do, small groups this time of year. So it's me and one other guide with 3 hunters. We got out there about an hour before we had them meet out there. We had everything set up, ready, just stress free, baby. I mean, just fun, just ear to ear grin.
Awesome.
Yep.
Those are the good ones, man. When you know the birds are there, when you can take your time, you got 3 guys, then you are a smaller group of guys, you could just sit back and enjoy it.
Yeah, it was definitely a fun one, and it goes a long way to get some of those more fun hunts in this time of year because, later in the year, do we enjoy ourselves? Yes, obviously, but does it become more stressful and things like that? Yeah, it does, and the pressure to produce and stuff like that goes up. So going out and enjoying some of these low stress days like this and having some success, that goes a long way across the course of, full duck season.
Yeah. Heck yeah. That's awesome. Good for you. Yeah. We don't, I've been out, of course we're not open at the moment. We had our first split and there was quite a few birds around, first split, not a lot of geese, but some, but quite a few ducks. The guys that hunted did pretty well. And we got a same cold front you guys had. It was a lot colder than 19 degrees and we got a lot of snow. But it wasn't enough to push in large numbers of ducks like we usually see in December. There's some around. There's definitely more of an uptick. I've been out looking and deer season's open yesterday here, locally, the general season here. And I've been out looking around. We've actually got quite a few geese. Like you said, I could put together a goose hunt pretty good right now if I had a season open. It was wild last night. I was sitting glassing for deer on this barley field that goes down in the river bottom. I was waiting for deer and had my kids with me. I'm looking out there in the field, a couple 100 yards out. I'm looking and I'm like, what's that white thing? I look and it was a snow goose. All by itself out there, completely by itself, out in the barley, eating, head down, just feeding. And it got up right at dark, flew back down the river. I was like, well, why are you by yourself?
That is odd. You don't see snow geese by themselves very often.
And we don't see a lot of snow geese, period. If you're going to kill snow geese here in this part of the world, it's going to be in November. It's going to be, and they're going to be mixed in with Canada's. It's going to be 1 or 2 in a flock of Canadas, and they're usually Ross's geese. Usually Rossi's. This one was a juvie snow. He wasn't perfect, but young bird. Yeah, it's just wild. It's like, what are you doing out there?
We don't get a ton of snows in the areas that I hunt. We get into them every now and then. Now there's places in Kansas that guys kill a lot of snows. It's just not the area I hunt. But we did
Right.
All four of the young guides went out without me on a buddy hunt yesterday morning, and I think they killed 25 or 30 geese, and they saw some snows as well. So we've got some around here too, but they didn't end up getting any. But they're our snows are typically mixed in with our lessers and specks, so we'll get those kind of mix up hunts sometimes where
Right.
we'll get into them a little bit.
Right. Yeah, I was talking to a buddy in North Dakota yesterday. He lives up in Minot, and he said it was like 7 degrees below zero yesterday morning, and they got
Ooh, why not? Why not?
18 inches of snow on the level. So he's like, "Yep, our duck and goose season's over before it even really started."
Yeah. I mean, it's good for me because all those birds that are normally holing up there for a while are already starting to push down further. But yeah, I've had several buddies going up there hunting North Dakota, and they said, man, it's just it's tough because there's just not a lot of birds around anymore. Depending on what part of the state you're in, they got a solid snow cover already. Most of the small stuff's locked up already. I haven't talked to anybody in South Dakota this week, but I'm assuming they're probably banging on the Missouri River right now.
I would assume so. I know that when Montana opens again, that the Yellowstone and the Missouri are going to be in the same thing. There's just going to be guys just pounding on birds. And they just haven't made it. They haven't made it here yet, but they will.
I'm sure we'll hit a lull. I don't know. It's supposed to warm back up later this week. I think into next week. I think we got another cold front in the forecast Wednesday, Thursday next week. It looks like. So we'll go in waves for a little while, but it's good to be. We killed a 6-man of mallards opening morning here, October 26th or 27th, whatever that Saturday was. I've never done that before. I've never killed a good group of mallards this early. It's normally, you might go out and shoot a 6-man, but it might be mostly gadwall and teal and maybe a couple widge and a couple pintails sprinkled in there, and then maybe 1 or 2 mallards. No, this was we all killed our mallards, and I think we killed 4 or 5 teal and a pintail, something like that. So it was really cool to see the green beans in the neighborhood already, baby. I mean, it's exciting. So
I can't tell you're fired up. Not at all.
I love duck season.
Oh man, I am right there with you. Everybody, the first split, I didn't hunt at all in the first split. I was way too busy with stuff on the Eastman side of things, and just didn't have the time to make really. But it's like, as soon as I can get my big game stuff, if I can get an elk or 2 in the freezer, okay, then then I'm all go, no stop on ducks and working in geese as much as I can.
That's why I don't deer hunt anymore, man. I'll be sitting in a deer stand during the rut watching all this activity going on, and I'm just sitting there wondering if anybody's killing any ducks. Like, I would just rather, I don't know. I just would rather freaking be hunting ducks. That's what does it for me. Now my son's 10. He killed his first deer last month with a rifle during the youth season. And then, or maybe it was during the doe rifles. I don't remember anyway. He killed it during the early season. And as he gets a little bit older and can sit in a deer stand on his own to bow hunt, I might start bow hunting some again early. But man, if there's ducks around, I'm a hunt ducks.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's funny because in the world of waterfowling, this episode of the Wingmen Podcast is brought to you by Leupold Optics. Guys, I'm stoked to be partnered with Leupold. I've been a fan of the company for a long, long time. But I have to say, there's a couple of products out there that I use consistently on my Wingmen hunts and in my Wingmen scouting. Obviously, the performance eyewear is number 1. I thought I knew what good eyewear was, so I've worn all kinds of stuff my whole life. I was wrong. Leupold has changed the game for performance eyewear, and you need to be looking at it. The other one are binos. A crisp, clear, bright sight picture is going to help me find birds, keep track of birds, and make my scouting that much more effective. Well, the world of wing shooting in general, whether it's you're talking about waterfowl or upland, everybody has their thing, and I don't know very many guys that are like, no, I only hunt ducks, or I only hunt geese. I don't know a lot of guys that are like that. Most guys will do whatever, but there's a preference, and
Yeah.
I'm with you. For me, in waterfowl, it's ducks, man.
Yeah.
I love hunting ducks. I don't care if it's in a dry field or water.
Well, I'm almost, given the choice, I'm just about always going to take water, but that's just because it funnels them down, and it just makes it where you're getting those 15-yard shots backpedaling, and you get that in fields too. But for us, it seems like the conditions have to line up perfect for us to get ducks in the field like that. And
yep, no, you're right.
Talking about wing shoot, I mean, I absolutely love quail hunting. Like that to me is a ton of fun. I wish the seasons didn't coincide so much. I do it a ton more. And pheasant hunting's fun too. But yeah, give me green heads, baby. all day. So.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you. I'm 100% with you. I would do where we are. I would hunt chuckers a lot more if it wasn't right in the heart of duck season. They overlap, and there's times when it's way too cold to hunt ducks, especially on the river. If it's 0 or below 0, I'll go on a chucker hunt during the day. I'd rather do that, but I don't chase them as much as I'd like to, just because duck hunting's my first love.
Yeah. One of these days, I want to make it out there for a chucker, because we do a lot of planted chucker hunts, and chucker are my favorite birds to plant, and they fly well, they flush well, they don't run real bad on you.
Well, the difference between a wild one and a pen raised one is like they're not even the same bird, dude.
Oh yeah, I know.
They will
run
run
out there and experience it sometime.
Oh, they'll run you all the way to the top of a mountain, and just as you're getting into range, they'll all flush and fly back down to the bottom. And then they sit there and do their little chucker laugh at you. They call them red-legged devils for a reason, and they are.
Yeah.
They're a ton of fun, but you earn them. You earn chuckers.
Yeah. Especially with the terrain that they're native to, I could see where that. But now for a planted bird, man, chucker's hard to beat for a planted bird. It's
right.
They do great. So, but yeah, man, when's y'all split up and back up?
I think we're next weekend we open up, and then ducks is open until middle of end of January this year, and then goose is open for like 8 days, 7-8 days, and then it closes again for a few days, and then we're open through February, basically.
That's pretty much the same as us.
Yeah.
It's one of our zones. We have a 18-day split, 19-day split in January. But while that one's closed, you can go across the highway to the east, and the other one's open. All of those except for a Monday through Friday. So when we're basically green light to kill ducks from now until January 28th, I think, is the last Sunday.
That's the same as us. Yeah, that's almost identical to us. I wish that they would open us, around Thanksgiving, maybe middle of November, and run us through the end of, maybe into February a little bit. It seems like January starts out real nasty, and we get some birds, and then it gets nice, and then February starts out, and you're always finishing up on geese, and there's ducks all over the place, it seems like.
So if you look in the federal construct of duck management plan for North American Waterfowl Management Plan, it is by law and by treaty illegal to hunt ducks after February 1st.
Yeah.
Now
interesting.
I think they did make some sort of exception to that, because I know some of the southern states will have their youth military weekends on the backside, but the regular duck season has to end by February 1st in the United States. So that's why we never can hunt ducks that late. And the reason for it is they, back in the 30s, 40s, 50s, whatever it was, they did all these studies on it, and they figured out that if a pair of ducks, if they lose a mated pair after February 1st, their probability of a successful nest dropped like, exponentially. So that's why, and you get guys, especially my buddies down in Mississippi and Louisiana and places like that, man. Why can't we hunt ducks in February? Why can't we hunt ducks in February? All our ducks are here in February. That's the reason for it. For better or worse, that's why it is the way it is. So
yeah, it's probably it's a good thing. There's no doubt about it. That's plenty of time. There's no doubt about it. There's plenty of time where, especially by the end of January, those last few days, man, there's times when my wife's like, "Are you about done hunting ducks?" And it does. I mean, the season it is long and lengthy, and compared to Michigan growing up, where we only had half the length of the season that I do out here, and what you have, it's a blessing, and I don't complain about it. But it's interesting you say that about the mated pairs. I know late in the season, late in January, a lot of the time, I will scale my decoy spreads way back down, and if I'm hunting a spot that ducks have seen a lot, they're highly pressured, I'll scale everything way back, and I'll set my decoys in either pairs or like fours.
Yeah, like family groups almost.
All like there's 3 drakes competing for one hen, and then they're over there 20 yards away, there's a mated pair by themselves, and then down here 20 yards away, the hole gets bigger, the decoy spread gets bigger and wider, but I'm using fewer decoys.
Yeah, I know a lot of guys that do that, and to go for a fly fishing term on that, you're matching the hatch, right? You're doing what you see. I personally can't do that from a perception standpoint, because if I
feels like you're cheating your guys.
Yeah, if I take my guys out there hunting and we have a slow day, or we see a bunch of birds and they don't finish or something, and I've only got 2 dozen decoys out, they're going to be losing their mind.
Yeah, no, I completely understand that. I
think the way the migration works for us too, because we have such big numbers of ducks by that point in the year anyway, we still have to go big to compete. So it doesn't affect us the same. But yeah, if I was hunting 2-3 guys in a little hidey hole marsh, something like that, you're exactly right. That is the right way to approach it, I think.
Yeah, that's very situational, what I just explained. If I'm hunting the spots that you see on our videos, our go-to spots that we hunt a lot, those are big. I'm hunting lots of birds, like large concentrations of birds. And so I do have to throw out 4 or 5 dozen decoys in a little hole off the side to get birds' attention. But if I'm hunting a spot that my scout is spot on, and it's a little side channel, and they're flying in there to feed, and I just need to put them right on a certain spot, I don't run very many decoys. Plus, you start dragging stuff around, and you got I got my Shen waders on and my tech gear on, and the harder I have to work to drag decoys down into some of these river spots that are really hard to get into, man, I just get like, it makes it all that much more work and harder, and you start dragging dozens and dozens of decoys up and down some of these big steep riverbanks, and it's like, holy smokes, man!
Well, you don't have sand or gravel bars out in those rivers usually either, do you?
You'll get some gravel bars that you can set stuff on, but it's not like what you guys have. Not at all.
Dude, I cheat so bad when it comes to spreads in general, whether I'm hunting the river or a cattle pond or whatever. So I'm only going to throw 5 dozen floaters out there, probably 3 dozen ducks, 2 dozen goose floaters. But then I'm going to stack sandbars with silhouettes and socks and stuff like that. So it gives me that big, massive footprint from the sky. And then the birds are going to finish where the spinners are, where the decoys are, the floaters are anyway. But it just, if I'm running traffic, which I do a ton, I can really get a lot of birds' attention from a long way off because from the sky it looked really big. But dude, you can put out a dozen silhouettes per minute per guy. So if I've
Right.
got guys out there helping, especially a lot of times we'll have the guest help us. Somebody's calling my wife's computer. It's weird. So if I've got, a lot of times we'll have our guests help us with the silhouettes and socks. That way they don't have to put waders on or anything.
Right.
Dude, you get 6 or 8 guys out there, and man, you can put out freaking 40, 50 dozen silhouettes and socks in less than 10 minutes, and you talk about having a big footprint. You get attention when you do that.
Yeah. Yeah. The way that most of the stuff we hunt up here is laid out, nothing is sand. Nothing is, you can't get a silhouette. You could barely get any kind of a stake in the ground. Even when it comes to spinners, I don't run a lot of spinners. I'll run them in a field. I mean, that's a must. But up and down the river, you see guys trying to do it, and you can't get the stakes into the river bottom because it's all cobble, big rock and cobble. And you can twist it and work it down in there and maybe get it to hold, but pretty soon, halfway through the morning, your spinner falls over in the river, and then it's.
What about floater spinners?
You can do them, but the river's so fast that it pushes the floater up like this, and it tips it over backwards, rides up like a boat trying to get on plane. What you guys do is they'll rig up like a wheel well, and they'll put a spinner pole on a wheel well and just put that wheel well on the bottom, and then your spinner pole is just sitting, then it's there. You just put it in there. And if you got, a spot you're going to hunt a lot, guys will go down before season. They'll take 3, 4, 5 of those wheel wells, and they'll just leave them down there. And if it's a spot that they can leave stuff in, they'll leave them all. They'll just leave them down there all year. But it's a wheel well that's, maybe filled with cement, so it weighs 20, 30, 40 pounds. So it's not going to get washed away in the current.
Yeah. Yeah. I saw a super awesome idea the other day that somebody did on one of the DIY waterfowl Facebook pages or something. They drilled out the top of their floater ducks, and they put some of those drop-in spinners, like Lucky Duck has one that's like it's about that
flicker type. Yeah.
And they drop those into their floaters. I was actually thinking about doing that because
that is a great idea.
You get that sporadic flash like you see when you're looking at a real flock of ducks. And I was like, man, I'm not that handy of a dude, but I have some guides that are. I might have a project for them.
Well, and everybody's got some older decoys that, maybe don't look the greatest anymore, and you just cut the top out of them and be able to set that in there. That is a really good idea. That's a really good idea.
I think I'm going to try that this year because just like you said, like even because so we got one river we hunt that's like solid rock bottom.
Right.
And I don't mean rocks. I mean, it's a rock bed bottom.
Oh, you can't get anything. Yeah.
Nothing. And then the big river we hunt, it's sand bottom. So you can get the poles in, but man, you fight with them leaning on and falling over on you all the time and stuff like that. So I was really thinking about trying some of these drop-ins on the backs of those floaters. Like I think that's a really good idea, and so maybe something
I'm stealing that idea. Stealing that idea. That's phenomenal.
I'll try to like video the process of us making them and how it works and stuff, and I'll send it over to you and use it.
Yeah, that's something I'd share on social, or whatever. That's a great idea because I've fought for years these big western rivers they're trout streams. That's what they are. They're trout streams. They're super fast. In fact, I get comments on the YouTube videos every year. I can't believe you put your dog in there. Right. And it's like, well, I'm very specific about where I hunt because of that. Because there are places on these rivers that you don't put a dog in that water. If you do, it's the last time you're gonna see them.
That's home turf. You know where you can get away with that.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. And I've been on, helped guys out. One of the outfitters that we had out here for a while, and he's since moved. The outfit's still in business. I would help him occasionally with clients if he was a guide down or a dog down. We got to one spot one morning, and I'm looking at the setup, and I looked at him and I said, "You got to call the shots over land. When those ducks swing behind the blind, you got to shoot them back there. And we got to put a bunch, all these full bodies, we got to put them 40 yards away on that sandbar above the blind. Try to get those birds to land there. Because I said, if they make it in this fast current right here, they're gone. And it's just, you look down the bank and it's just log jam after log jam after log jam with the current just sucking in right underneath it.
I'm not putting my dog.
No, we lost 2 birds that morning. You know, you get one that sails and hits the main current, and it's like, oh, well, you know, I hate to say it, but I was like, I'm going to kill my dog if I put him in there. And that goes back to having control of your dog, back to how we started this podcast. You know, if you've got a dog that is uncontrollable and that breaks, that's not a safe dog for the dog's sake, you know, because you're really limited on where you can hunt, where you can go. If you can't, you know, then you're tying them up, and just adds a whole level of complexity where if you can train that in and get them as steady as possible, just adds a level of enjoyability and control to that hunt.
Well, and it goes back to what we were talking about a while ago. It decreases that stress level, and you're having more fun. So, I mean, I completely agree. And, you know, a lot of that's recall and steadiness, you know, but having an under control dog goes a long way in the safety side of things, for sure.
So that leads me into a question. What are your thoughts on e-collars?
So I use e-collars. My stance on any sort of pressure is I'm going to use the least amount of pressure to achieve the desired result, always. Right. So some dogs, I never have to use an e-collar. Some dogs, I have to use an e-collar more regularly, just because they're harder headed. Now, all my dogs, when we're hunting, I've got e-collars on them just for that safety valve, just like what you were just talking about. I got a dog headed towards that big washout down there or something like that, and it's chasing a greenhead or something. I can turn that dog around if I have to, or flushing a pheasant across the road, or, you know, whatever. I can turn that dog around if I have to.
Yeah, 100%. I'm there with you. I was not an e-collar guy for a really, really long time, and with Hondo in particular, he's a super high drive dog, and there's just times when he's gonna do. And he's so fast and athletic, he can put himself in danger very, very quickly. And I just got to the point with him where I didn't have control over him at distance. When if I needed to stop him and either get him away from something or cast him in another direction, I couldn't. He wouldn't do it. He was hunting. He was hunting that bumper, hunting that bird, and you're not gonna get him off of it. And so I bought an e-collar and started out with obedience stuff, really light stimulation, just getting him used to that little bit of correction. And now it's like you put it on him and he's all business. He associates that e-collar with we're going hunting. You know, it's a positive thing.
Half the time I don't know where my e-collar remote is, but I'll have a collar on the dog.
Oh man, we had it. Opening day of dove season, I had a pretty good little for Wyoming. It is not a dove state. Don't come out here thinking you're going to shoot piles of doves, because you're not. But there's like anywhere, there's a few here and a few there. And I had a little spot that had 50, 60 doves using it. And I thought, let's take the wife and my 2 girls are in school, take my wife and the little boy out and we'll shoot some doves. And I took Hondo and I put the e-collar on him, and we're getting around and getting everything set up, and the doves are kind of flitting around him. I look over and knock down this dove, and he goes over to where it to the mark. He marked it really nice, but then he veered off to the right, and he was hunting quite a ways to the right, and I needed to stop him. And I'm whistle, nothing. Call his name, then he stopped. Nothing. So then I try to give him a little bit of an attention getter with the collar, and it's not like nothing's working. And I'm like, what is going on? Well, my wife put the collar on the dog. I was like, she must not have got it tight enough. He comes back. She didn't turn it on. It wasn't turned on. You know, we got the little boy with us. We're getting everything set up. She just forgot to turn the collar on. And It was not a
happened.
big deal, but dude, I relate to that so much. You get busy in a situation, and next thing you're forgetting stuff. Oh,
Yeah, my remote's usually in my blind bag or my bucket either way. So
yeah,
like I have it around, but I'll have to go look for it if I actually need it. But usually, with the older dogs, if they've got their collar on, that's all that matters. They're going to listen because they know that the collar's on and it's business time at that point. So
yeah,
it's not a
100%. I just think there's so much stigma to collars, and I've had this conversation with a few different guys over the years that guys feel they either feel guilty for using one, like they shouldn't have to. If they were a better dog trainer, they wouldn't need one, or they rely on it so heavily that it's almost like a crutch.
oh yeah.
And I was that guy for years that didn't have one because I'm like, no, if I was doing my job the right way with my dog, I shouldn't need one. And
So
man, my opinion
have you
changed
ever shocked
dramatically.
yourself?
Say what?
Have you ever put it on the back of your hand
Oh
and
yeah.
done it? Okay,
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So like you use it at the right stem level and it feels like a little scratch. It's
It's
not what a
just
lot of people think. And I think
right.
if everybody would do that so that they understood what that stimulation is or what that pressure is, I think they'd feel a lot better about it because and once a dog's trained, that's all you have to do because the dog knows what that means and you don't have to burn a dog up, nor, outside of a safety scenario, I'm never going to burn a dog up. Now,
No.
if I've got a dog that's running towards a gravel road and the mail truck's flying down the road and I'm blowing the whistle and it's not stopping, okay, he's going to get rolled. But that's
Right.
to save him from getting run over by a truck. Outside
Right.
of that, I never will burn a dog up.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
you don't have to.
No, you don't have to, and you're gonna create I think you're gonna create bad behaviors with that. You're going to create
Oh yeah,
negativity with that where the dog's like, I don't want anything to do with that
yeah,
anymore. And I've seen it, and back in the day when they first came out, everybody called them shock collars, and that doesn't
right.
help. That doesn't help with that. And they're not what they used to be. I did the same thing. I put it on my arm, tightened it down, and was like, yeah, it's not necessarily painful, but it
Oh yeah.
gets your attention.
Yeah, I do it. One of our big things when we train dogs for somebody else, my biggest thing is I want to involve the owner in that process as much as possible so
Right.
that when that dog goes home, they're going to get the most out of it. But that's something that I just about always do is I'll show the owner. I'm like, look, I am shocking myself right now.
Right.
So you can see the red light on the collar. I'm not even flinching. Okay, I want you to do the same thing on your hand. And I'll show them what that pressure feels like so that they understand that it can be used in a productive, safe, uh, ethical manner.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not a bad thing. It's
No,
no worse
it's a
than a
tool.
jerk collar, a jerk leash or whatever. Like,
Yeah.
it's just an extension of a leash is all it is. So, it doesn't have to be a bad thing. And as well as anybody, once the dog has worn that thing enough and associated with something it loves, it gets excited when it sees you grab that thing. So,
Yep. Yep. Gets
it's
excited. It gets excited, but in the case of Hondo, especially because he's the one that I use it on, the most, and of any other dog that I've ever had. And not only does he get excited, but his demeanor goes from like he's excited, but he's not wild. He's not out of control. He
he's
knows
happy, but
that
it's work mode.
yes, yeah,
Yep.
it's work time, and
Yep.
that's what he associates that collar with. Where I get that thing out, no matter what we're doing. If we're going for a walk down a irrigation ditch, he dials it back a notch. Where if we're just out screwing around, he's wild. He's all over the place being a 2-year-old dog. Just
Yep.
loving life. But yeah, it's a work mode thing, and it's control, it's safety. I just wondered, because some guys, especially in the world of British labs, are like, no, not at all, never, no reason for one.
I think that stance is probably just as ignorant as the people that'll tell you can't train a dog without an e-collar.
Right.
Taking a hard line on it one way or the other, I think is silly. Keeping an open mind about it and utilizing it when and how it should be utilized. Yeah, all it does is gives you more efficiency in the training process.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and to me, there's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. You know, if I can get the same level of trained dog at 2 years old versus what it's going to take you to 3 or 4 without the collar, and the dog has a better understanding of what I'm asking it to do because of it, without hurting the dog, why is that a bad thing?
Yeah. No, I 100%. 100%. That's cool. So what do you got coming up? Well, you got clients coming in this afternoon. What does that look like?
So they're gonna get here about 6 o'clock. We'll do dinner. We'll catch up, BS and tell lies for a couple of hours. I'll come back home and get in the bed, and then let them get unpacked and get some rest, and then tomorrow morning hit it for 3 days of duck hunting, man. We're time hasn't changed yet, so we're still shoot light was like 7:25, 26 this morning, so we're not pushing super early or anything. We'll hunt, a little bit warm the next few days. We'll probably hunt from shoot light till 9:30, 10 a.m., maybe 10:30.
Right.
Then go back, chill out, let them chill out. We'll go scout. And then kind of slow small groups from now until Thanksgiving. Lot of kind of hunting with some buddies and just kind of getting the fun time in before we get really busy. And then of course after Thanksgiving the switch flips and it's go baby go,
Yep.
just got to make hay while the sun shines then. So it'll pick up and we'll be running and gunning. But until then, we're taking people out, but it's 3s and 4s and small groups. And we got a couple quail hunts we're gonna run here in next week when we open up for that and stuff like that. So having a lot of fun during this part of the year is always big. It kind of gets all the guides in the right frame of mind where we remind ourselves, oh yeah, we even though we work really hard at this, we still do it because we love it and spend time getting the kids out and family and all that kind of stuff. And it really helps to set the tone for the season before things get really busy.
Yeah. No, yeah, I agree 100%. It's the same here, balancing that work life thing mix is get the kids out, get the wife out, get as much hunting in as we can together as a family, and then when it's go time, it's go time. And like I said, we don't have there's huntable numbers of birds, but we don't have a ton. I could probably get to a 2-man most mornings, but other than that, it's not like it will be hopefully in a few weeks.
Exactly. Well, I tell you what, man, I got deer guys out in stands right now texting me as we speak. So
Cool.
We'll hop off here and I'll get those guys squared away and everything. Look at the calendar. If you want to check back in December sometime, mid-month or whatever, we can hop back on here and keep a central flyway migration update going.
Yeah, that's what we talked about. So I love it. That's gonna giving guys an update and we'll handle it like that. I love it, dude. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, awesome talking with you as always, Todd. Have a great day, buddy.
Absolutely.
All right, bye.
Take care, man. Bye.